Hello everyone, welcome again. Today we are going to start NCERT Class 7 Chapter 6 Towns, Traders and Craftspersons. In this chapter we are going to study about medieval history and the theme is to study the medieval history. In this we will be studying about the main Samrajyas that were ruling at that time. Amongst them were Cholas and Rajputs, and after that there were attacks on our country. Then first came the slave dynasty, then came Delhi Sultanate, then came Mughals. Now the question arises, when Mughals came to our country, what did they do? What works they did here? And we can say that they did constructive works in our country. They built many buildings, those were related to art and culture. And whenever we study any topic, we must keep the heading in our mind. There is towns, traders and craftspersons. And they slowly they developed main kingdoms, and the formation of towns started at that time. When the towns developed, uh, whenever a town is developing, that is the regional center of that kingdom. Then traders did economic activity. What did they do? They bring goods from one place and sell them at another place. And traders were center for the trade. Then there were craftsmen. When traders were there, they needed things to sell their goods, and those things were to be prepared by craftspersons only. Means if only craftspersons will prepare the things, only then the traders will be able to sell them at profit. And where they will sell them? They will sell them in the towns where people will be living. It means we can say craftsmen, towns and traders, they all are correlated. Now these towns were famous for temple towns. Thanjavur was the capital of that at that time of the Cholas, and it was situated near river Kaveri. At that time Raja Rajeshwara temple was very famous. It was built by Raja Chola, and in this area water mainly came from wells, and wells were the main source of water, and weavers were living near the water bodies or near the areas where their water was available. Weavers of Saliya caste, they were living there, and they made cloth for the temples. Whenever there were some ceremonies or celebrations in the temple, then the flags which were unfurled, those were made by weavers of Saliya caste in this area. And so weaving was a major work of the people living in this area. Then comes the Swai Milaya temple. In this temple many bronze and bell metals, bronze items were found, and bell metal was also found here. What is bronze metal? Bronze metal was a combination of tin and copper. And in bell metal it was also like this composition of tin and copper, but in bell metal tin was much quantity, so it gave like bell like sound. Then the temple towns and pilgrimage centers. Thanjavur was a temple towns, and temples were central to the economy as cities were developing near temples. Rulers built temples to demonstration their devotion to various deities. At many places temples were made. For example, Thanjavur temple was famous. Then Somnath in Gujarat was made. Then Tirupati in Andhra Pradesh was made. Then Bilsa temple in Madhya Pradesh was built. Then Kanchipuram and Madurai temples were built in Tamil Nadu. And pilgrimage centers, these were pilgrimage centers. After that comes Ajmer. It was the capital of Chauhans in the 12th century, and it was a famous place both for Hindus and Muslims, because for Hindus Pushkar Lake is near Ajmer. That is, even today that lake is famous pilgrimage for the Hindus. And for Muslims, Khwaja Muinuddin Chishti, he came at Ajmer and he settled in Ajmer in the 12th century. And for this Ajmer is famous both for Hindus as well as the Muslims. And this was about the temple towns and pilgrimage centers, because in these we can say temples only the temple towns started and economy became strengthened. Now comes the network of small towns. During 18th century, small towns emerged and there were mandapikas called mandis. In those mandis, villagers from nearby village come there and they sell their produce there. And they had markets called hatta or streets. There were different hattas or streets for the sale of different articles. Articles to sell were horses, salt, camphor, saffron, betel nut, spices and pepper. And usually Samantha fortified the palace and he laid taxes on the traders and artisans and on the trade articles. Sometimes he gave the right to collect taxes to the local temples which were built by themselves or built by rich people. Then comes sculpture. It is a very interesting concept. In this sculpture, lost wax technique was used. What was to be done here? The statue which was to be made, similar statue with wax was made of that, we can say, that image, and that was coated with clay, and that clay was heated in oven, and then when it was heated, then the clay got hardened, and what happened inside the wax melts, and there was we were to prick a hole at the bottom of the image so that the liquid wax may come out, and from that place they were to pour liquid metal, and that metal was to be cooled down, and that metal slowly and slowly solidifies with the passage of the time. And what was done after that? After that they removed the layer of the clay and the metal sculpture was with us. This was the technique which was used for making the images, and this was known as lost wax technique at that time. Now comes traders. Traders were big and small traders. Traders had to pass through the kingdom and forest for going on trade. They travelled in caravans and they made guilds for their prosperity and for their protection and for their safety. They moved in caravans and they built guilds for their safety. The main guilds were Manigram and Nandesi. Apart from it, Chaityas, Marwadis, they were trading groups prevalent at that time. Then Gujarati traders, Hindu Baniyas, Muslim Bohors, they traded with the parts of Red Sea, Persian Gulf, East Africa, Southeast Asia and China. These were the areas where these people were trading. And the towns of coast were homes to Arabs, Persians, Chinese, Jewish and Christian traders. Indian spices and clothes. What was done? Italian traders took Indian spices and clothes and they sell them in European markets at higher rates to gain profits. Then pepper, cinnamon, nutmeg and dried ginger, these were a part of the European cooking at that time. And the cotton cloth. The cotton cloth which was made in that area was an attractive thing of that time. It led to the European traders to come to India. And the craftsperson of Bidar, they were famous for inlay work in copper and silver, and that technique was called Bidri art. We can say that art as Bidri art. Apart from it, Vishwakarma, blacksmiths, masons, carpenters, they were needed for the building of the temples and palaces, big buildings, tanks. These were made in abundance at that time. And weavers, they were known as a prosperous community emerging at that time. And cotton cleaning, spinning, dyeing, these works were considered as specialized crafts which were done by the weavers of that time. It means we can say weaving was the main occupation of that time, and Bidri art, it was also gaining importance at that time. When it comes to the architecture, we will be talking about three major cities under it. First is Hampi, then Surat, then Machilipatnam or Muslipatnam. The architecture splendor of Hampi, first we will come to know about this. It was located in Krishna Tungbhadra basin and it was built in 1336. It was a well furnished city. And one amazing thing about this city was that in making of this city, no cement or mortar was used. Only what was done, they were wedged together by interlocking, because there was no use of mortar or cement was there. Then the Royal Complex. Royal Complex had splendid arches, domes and pillared hall, and so many orchards and pleasure gardens were made in Hampi. Then Muslim traders, Chetis, Portuguese, they all thronged the markets of Hampi, and temples at that time, those were the hub of cultural activities, and Devdasis were also found at that time in the temples. One most famous temple was Shiva temple, where Ram Navami, or today we can say Navratri, was celebrated with great pomp and show there. And at the time of occasions, king watched dances, cultural items and wrestling bouts there. These all were held there. And till the Vijayanagar Empire, Hampi got its glory, but after that it because declining. And with the coming of Deccan Sultans, Hampi declined. Then a gateway to the west was Surat. In Gujarat, Surat was emporium to western trade during Mughal period, and it was a gateway for trade with West Asia via Gulf of Hormuz. And it was also a gateway to Makkah, because pilgrim ships set sail from Surat to Makkah, and several retail and wholesale markets were there, and cotton textile was very much developed there. The zari work, the bordered laces called the zari work, was very famous. And in Surat, so many rest houses were made by the government at that time, and hundis were a source of exchange there, because for Surat, hundis were there for the exchange that a person offered to another person, and those hundis could be exchanged. It was a kind of significant note that was provided for exchange. Hundis were a kind of, we can say, a kind of note was this. Then Surat hundis were separate in Egypt, Iran and Belgium. So Surat was a well-known trading town during that time. However, during 17th century it declined because East India Company shifted its capital from Surat to Mumbai. Therefore, there was a decline in the business in Surat. But even today, Surat is a bustling communication commercial center, as cotton work, or we can say textile industry, is very much developed in Surat. Now we will study about Machilipatnam, fishing in troubled waters. Machilipatnam was a fish port town. It lay on the delta of Krishna River in the 17th century. Both Dutch and East India Company tried to control it. The fort that is built in Machilipatnam, that was built by Dutch people, and Qutub Shahi rulers, they controlled the textile and spices there. There was competition among Golconda nobles, Persian merchants, Telugu Komati Chetis and European traders. And due to this competition, the importance and population and prosperity of Machilipatnam was increasing. Then company traders moved to Bombay, Calcutta and Madras, and the merchants' prosperity declined in 18th century. Now comes new towns and traders. In 16th and 17th century, European countries were searching for spices and textile centers, and the English, Dutch and French, they formed companies for the trade. Then great Indian traders like Mullah Abdul Ghaffur, Virji Vohra, they owned large number of ships to compete with the English people. Now European companies forced Indians to work as their agents. English people were the most successful commercial and we can say political power at that time. And with the demand of goods like textiles led to Indian textile designs increasingly refined by spinning, weaving, bleaching and dyeing, etc. Independent craftspersons declined. Weavers no longer had the liberty to sell their own cloth or weaving their own patterns because they were working under the Europeans. They had to reproduce the designs supplied to them by the company agents. In 18th century, crafts, commerce underwent major changes as merchants and artisans were moved to black towns, which were the cities or colonies which were made by European people. Now, European sailors thought of coming to India. Their main purpose to come to India was to take the spices from India. And for this purpose, two main discoverers came here. First was Vasco da Gama. He was a Portuguese sailor. He reached Calicut, and after that he returned to Lisbon. He lost two of his ships out of four, and he lost 170 men in the journey, and only 54 people with him survived. Then comes Christopher Columbus. His route was very interesting. He took 4 voyages. First was to Arabian island, but he did nothing significant in this. And second was he brought in around 1500 people and established a colony in Caribbean island. In his third voyage, he reached port of South Africa and Venezuela. And at last, he reached the coast of Central America. Finally, he discovered people who appeared to him as Indians. And finally, they were Red Indians from Indies region. And this was about Columbus' discovery of America. He never visited North America, and he visited Caribbean islands, South America, Venezuela region, and Egypt and parts of Central America. And this was all about this chapter. Thank you. Have a good day ahead.